Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, the number one network in the United States, and also Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say today is a beautiful day to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America. Thank you for following Big C Sports as well as across the pond in Paris, France, and London, England. And of course, we love Canada, Big C, but there's no one I love more than the good old boys in the land of the free and the home of the brave. How's it going for you good old boys on the South, Big C, on February 17th, 2017, C?
Well, Johnson, I snuck down here in New Orleans, and my mother used to tell me all the time, my hard head makes us all behind. I went in there and saw one of the voodoo doctors, thought I'd get some remedies. And knocked me on my butt, so I'm a little nervous right now. My orientation is not what it used to be, and I haven't even had a sip of anything, so I'm worried.
Well, that's funny. I told you, don't turn down Obamacare. You good old boys fell for it, Big C. Now you got to go to voodoo doctors again, but that's how it goes sometime in the land of the free and the home of the brave, Big C. I want to also say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, is that Escalade needing some Robitussin today too, or is it just the New Orleans liquor you've been changing up on, Big C? Your thoughts?
We just have a lot of bees hanging from her side mirrors, she's been flashing on everybody for some reason. I've been trying to tell her, look, Daddy's here. You can't act like this.
Yeah. it's like POTUS tells Ivanka Trump. I remember he was on a Howard Stern show and he was saying, "Isn't my daughter beautiful? If that wasn't my daughter, I think I'd date her." I mean, most fathers are adoring to their kids, but to say you date your own daughter for POTUS, it's amazing how some people say certain things, but maybe he was telling the truth, Big C. I also want to say that in this world of sports, we have one of the greatest exhibitions coming up in the world of NBA basketball, and that's going to be the All-Star game down in the great city of New Orleans. And can you just talk about, we know we had the tragedy and the floods back in the day under the Bush administration, but New Orleans is actually coming back for the most part. And just talk about the vibe of the city in the All-Star game coming to New Orleans, Big C. Your thoughts?
Charlton, this is a city that's full of electricity. I mean, there's all types of events going on down here. They got the celebrity game tonight.
Yeah.
It's just a wonderful time to be in New Orleans. The city has done a tremendous job of the recovery over the past decade that they've had to go through. You never stop going through stripes in life, Charlton. These are some very resilient people down here, Charlton. They're very proud people.
Yeah.
And they've done a tremendous job in putting everything together for the All-Star game. I mean, this is one you hold your head up high on.
Yeah. Well, I know they're talking about having the skills challenge and the starters, and there's all this talk about who's going to win. Back in the day, the slam dunk competition, it was something that a lot of people looked up to, especially when you had guys like Dominique Wilkins and you have Michael Jordan, but even Dr. J, when he came from the ABA, I think he lost the slam dunk competition in the NBA, even though he was considered one of the greatest dunkers of all time. Just your thoughts on the great Dr. J and how some of those marquee players, they were in the slam dunk competition, unlike the players of today, Big C.
Well, Charlton, the stars used to be in the slam dunk contest, Charlton. The people that you saw playing in the All-Star game, it was a highlight for them to be in the dunk contest. I mean, you talk about the great Dr. J, Dominique Wilkins, like Larry Nance, over the decades, Charlton, and Darnell Hillman, that have been involved in some of the greatest dunk contests of all time. Vince Carter.
Oh, yeah.
These players went out, Charlton, and put on an elaborate show for the fans. I mean, and it was mind-boggling. I remember when Spud Webb won the dunk contest, Charlton. Spud was 5'7".
Wow.
And he went out and won the dunk contest. I mean, just an amazing feat for a man of that stature. But the stars in the NBA past felt that it was very imperative that they go out, Charlton, and participate in everything on All-Star Weekend. Now, people are looking at things from a marketing perspective, and so you don't get all the fanfare. You think about the three-point shootout, Charlton.
Yeah.
Where you had the greatest shooters in the game playing, and now, when you look at these things, you're getting a lot of bench players that are coming in and, doing these contests. Matter of fact, there's a young man in the dunk contest, Charlton. He's only played 8 minutes this season.
Wow.
He came up from the D-League.
Yeah.
But, he's going to be in the dunk contest after getting only 8 minutes in on the regular season.
Well, that's funny when you bring that up. We have Aaron Gordon out of Orlando. We know he's off the hook. really an acrobatic slam dunker. DeAndre Jordan from the LA Clippers. You wouldn't think of him being a guy in the slam dunk competition because he's a center, actually, Big C. He's a big guy. But he's in there. Derek Jones, a junior out of Phoenix. He's a forward. He's going to be in there. And, of course, Glenn Robinson III out of Indiana. And he's a guard forward. He's going to be in there. So that you don't have guys like back in the day when we would have the star players of the league, like a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant or LeBron James. You know, those guys, they've kind of taken the back seat now and letting the other guys get some of the shine. And maybe because they don't want to ruin their reputation as being considered great, Big C, and losing the competition is that I don't even think Curry is in the 3-point competition this year, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, it's amazing. Players are saying that they need rest, and I think it's something that Commissioner Silver is going to need to look into, Charlton. That, you know, the great fanfare around every All-Star game is that they're paying the stars.
Yeah.
That they want to be a part of that. I mean, we've had big men beyond DeAndre Jordan before in dunk contests. Larry Nance was 6'10". Darnell Hillman was 6'9".
Yeah.
We've had Tom Chambers at 6'10" in these dunk contests, Charlton. So big men have played in these dunk contests. But, you know, I would like to see a little more, you know, participation from the greats of the game to allow the fans to really see them in skills competitions.
Yeah.
To see where their greatness is, and that's one of the things they're being shorted on these days in the modern NBA, Charlton.
Well, could you imagine back in the day when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with the sky hook? That's a shot that's known all over the world. If you know NBA basketball, everybody could see the sky hook, and sometimes you can tell who a player is and who they're not. But everybody would understand, oh, that's Kareem, because he's known for that. Could you imagine having guys like a Wilt Chamberlain in the slam dunk competition, or a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the slam dunk competition, a guy like Ralph Sampson, guys that have the height on them that everybody thinks they can dunk, but to see a big man, could you imagine Shaq in the NBA slam dunk competition? Because it doesn't have to be just on your acrobatic moves. It could be on how powerful you dunk the ball or some of the moves you do getting to the hoops. Is that something that the league has kind of robbed the fans of, Big C, the same way that somebody robbed your beats down there in New Orleans, Big C?
Well, you know, I think they're looking for a little more athleticism. You know, you think about Chocolate Thunder, Daryl Dawkins.
Yeah.
All of his name signature dunks that he would have. You know, when you're going out into a dunk contest, you're looking for creativity. You know, because we've basically seen every dunk there is. It's just a matter of the adjectives, Charlton, that you're going to put on there to get it to the next level. I mean, anybody can go up there in the NBA and throw it through the rim.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do creativity-wise? That's what you're getting judged on now, is creativity in these contests.
Yeah, and that's something that I like seeing, too, because you brought up the name Spud Webb. There's a guy right now that's playing for the Boston Celtics, and just a little bit taller than Webb, but I think about how dominant he is, you know, as a basketball player, just a dominant player. And some of the young guys and the smaller guys, they have Isaiah Thomas, and he's such a dominant athlete. It's amazing. One time he played here in Northern California, you know, but they shipped him off to another team, and you know, Boston's reaping the rewards of that, Big C. But if we go down, just some of your thoughts, as you know, the history of games that are, and some of the players in the history of this game. I'm going to look at the Western Conference, and I bring up in the skills competition, you know, Devin Booker out of Phoenix, he's a guard. You have DeMarcus Cousins out of Sacramento, and he's a forward center. Just think about some of the most dominant centers that you've seen outside of the All-Star game, whether it's guys like Kareem or like someone like Wilt Chamberlain. How would you rate their game compared to some of the guys that we call stars now that make about 20 times the money, Big C?
Well, Charlton, the great era of centers in the NBA happened to be in the 70s.
Yeah.
Well, when you think about it, you had a tremendous run on centers. You had Kareem, you had Bob Lanier, you had Bill Walton, you had the Chief Robert Parrish. You had so many great centers in the game. Even Wilt was still a dominant center. Is that what you're saying, Big C? I think we lost a little bit of your. There you go. You're back on that, Big C. Go right ahead, sir. As a fan, you wanted to see the big man. I mean, you standing there and you're in awe of all this height and size as a fan sitting there. And you know, but the game has changed because now you have 7-footers taking 3-point shots. Where before they played in the paint. You know, the game has been restructured over the past decade and a half, Johnson, from what it once was. You know, when you look at the Greek Freak in Milwaukee, you got a 6'11" point guard. Yeah. So, and everybody thought when Magic Johnson came into the league, Johnson, in 1979, at a 6'8" point guard, and that's what really revolutionized the game.
Yeah.
You know, is that a man that size can handle the ball with such fluidity.
Yeah.
But now, you know, you look at Kevin Durant, he's 7 feet tall, and he plays the three.
Yeah.
You know, he's a better outside shooter probably than what he is an inside shooter. So
yeah.
This game has evolved over time. Athleticism of players, even when you look at the college ranks, you talk about your neighbor out there, Boogie Cousins.
Yeah.
You know, he's technically a center, but he's always trying to shoot the ball on the perimeter.
That's one thing I noticed.
It takes away from the rest of the players.
Yeah, that takes. I mean, could you imagine Kareem being the guy that pulled up for the Lakers when he had guys like Worthy and he had guys like Johnson, and he decided that he's going to be a 3-point champion? But that's what's happening here in Sacramento, only because they let it happen, Big C. Another guy I want to bring up, back in the day, there was a guy by the name of Clifford Ray. And I think he was one of the dominant big guys in the league, too. And you did talk about Walton, but what do you think of a guy like Karl Malone? He didn't have the size of these bigger guys, or like a Moses Malone. But Clifford Ray, not necessarily a household name, Big C, but still another dominant athlete.
Well, when you think about Clifford Ray, Charlton, he played in the middle at 6'9". Another player that was even shorter than him playing in the middle was Wes Unseld, playing his career with the Washington Bullets at that time out of the University of Louisville.
Yeah.
And, you know, he challenged everybody. He and Kareem had some great battles. Matter of fact, when the Milwaukee Bucks won their only NBA title, they went against the Washington Bullets, and it was Kareem versus Unseld, and it was just a dominant mismatch at that time. But when you think about Clifford Ray, you know,
yeah.
6'9", playing the center, even Wes Unseld at 6'7".
Yeah.
Playing the center. Those players, you know, are not adapted to today's game, Charlton, as far as how they were brought up to play the game.
Yeah.
And so, you know, those players now are looked at as forwards and guards at that height. And so the evolution of the game, Charlton, has been tremendous over time. The athleticism of the players, how we look at it, you know, the constant evolution of man, you know, and you see that in sports.
Well, Big C, that's always powerful. I want to say today's segment is also sponsored by the California Lottery. What can a buck do for you? You know, it's hard to keep counting because we already won that thing, Big C. I don't know why they keep announcing it. Kellyanne Conway said we won, so who can deny what she says, Big C? But I want to say that Powerball is up over $300 million. And go ahead and buy one because a buck can go a long way. I don't know how many beads you could buy. How many beads could you buy with $300 million, Big C, down in New Orleans?
Well, I might have to get some more shots back to my baby.
That's great.
Everybody's been in awe of it down here, looking at it, you know.
Yeah. Hey, they're going to have beads stuck in mud. That's really going to be like one of those cookies you get at a kid's birthday party, Big C. So hopefully people keep their hands off it like they do the bunny rabbit here in Sacramento. Now, one of the big upcoming stars down there in his hometown in the Skills Channel is Anthony Davis out of New Orleans. He's a forward center. A lot of people thought that he should shave his eyebrow, Big C, but I think that's a good marketing point. Have you seen that eyebrow? Is it still one or is it a two-piece now, Big C?
When you think about Anthony Davis, you know, he came from that great one-and-done University of Kentucky, just like Cousins. He had a roadmap to the NBA. Come here, play 1 year, and you're gone. You know, but Anthony Davis is just a tremendous athlete, standing at 6'11". You know, this kid in high school played point guard, but he had that growth spurt that moved him into the pivot. So, you know, he's just a tremendous athlete, and he is the franchise down here in New Orleans, Charlton. They're building this franchise around him. You know, the thing we have nowadays in the NBA, Charlton, is there's so much talent. Yeah. So much talent. You know, you have your dominant franchise, and then everybody else get caught in the mix. And that's sort of the scenario that you have here in New Orleans, Charlton, is that you get a franchise caught in the mix. You got an all-star player that averages a double-double, you know, for his career, but you know, you got to find a way to get over the hump, you know, and you know, get a little more parity in the league.
Well, let me ask you, Big C, size-wise, you know how Donald Trump says size matter, and you know a lot of guys say size matters for athletes, Big C. But does he remind you at all of a bigger Ralph Sampson? Ralph Sampson was tall, he was lean, he was good down inside, but he couldn't take a lot of punishment. Davis looks like a more physical version of Sampson. Would that be accurate, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I tell you, he really reminds me of Charlton as Robert McAdoo. McAdoo played in North Carolina under Dean Smith. He led the NCAA in scoring 2 years ago. Actually, in the NBA, he led the NBA in scoring his first 3 years in the league. He was 6'10".
Yeah.
He was very slender, and he could take his game inside and outside. And so that's what Davis reminds me of. You know, you get so many people, you know, and they only look at certain players, understanding that there's been great players all around that have done the things that he's done. But he reminds me so much of Robert McAdoo out of North Carolina, who actually finished his career with the Los Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, and then we got to bring up a name because the NBA is really, we call it the National Basketball Association, but they could change it to the World Basketball Association. You have Kristaps Porzingis out of New York. He's a forward. Now, here's a guy that's come on to the NBA. I think he was given a lot more credit for being better than what he is. Maybe he still has some upside to him, but he doesn't strike a lot of fear in the hearts of guys playing against him. I know he's on the East Coast over there in New York, but does he strike fear in the hearts of players, Big C, for a guy that's a tall, kind of a slender, not too athletic, but is still a strong forward? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charles, he reminds me a lot of a young Dirk Nowitzki when he came into the NBA. And, Dirk is the number 6 all-time leading scorer in the NBA. After this long, lustrous career that he had, this guy needs to fill out a little bit, Charles. He's very slender. He's at 7'2". But playing with the Knicks, you don't get a lot of airtime.
Yeah,
that's the thing. So as good as you can be, the only thing we've heard about New York the last 4 years is Anthony.
Yeah,
and so
Carmelo.
you got to find a way to disperse the ball around in that organization a little more.
Yeah,
and highlight some of the younger players.
Well, that's a really good point you bring up, Big C. I want to say this segment is sponsored by United Labor Guaranteed Life Insurance up to $100,000. We are also endorsed by the American Heart Association and the American Cancer Society. If you're looking for work, we're looking to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers. Tweet out the Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. Also, One Life America Life Insurance. We're the leaders in the country when it comes to final expense, and we pay your E&O up to $1 million per broker. Now, who does that? Big C Sports does it. Tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. I'm going to bring up 2 guards. We already talked briefly about one, and Isaiah Thomas for Boston, and then John Wall for Washington. 2 guards, both playing on the East Coast, but they don't have the same cachet that a name like Curry or Irving have. Your thoughts on Isaiah Thomas out of Boston and John Wall? Do they really take a back seat to Curry and Kyrie Irving, Big C?
Well, a lot of people take a back seat to Curry when it just comes to flat out.
Yeah.
But, those other players, Charles, a lot similar game to Irving when you think of what Thomas does and even Wall.
Yeah.
Developing that consistency. And I think one of the biggest problems, Charles, when the young players come into the NBA right now is that they're all ego-driven and they're not really thinking about the professionalism that they must exude.
Yeah.
How to make their game better. All of a sudden they got a lot of money. They got a lot of spare time. And so, they know they were good enough to get to the league, but they're not really working hard to make themselves better. And that's happened so much in professional sports. When we look at some of these older Grizzly coaches, when you think about Popovich.
Yeah.
When he brings in players, he's not really running up and down looking for that number 1 draft pick to bring him in as college all-star,
Yeah.
to put him in the lineup in San Antonio.
Yeah.
He's looking for a player that fits.
Yeah.
It fits what he's trying to do. And you look at the success the organization has had, Jonathan, over the last 15 years under Popovich. It's second to none, and, his way works. But when you look at a lot of these players that are ego-driven, always want to have a press conference, always want to talk about something negative, they can't play in San Antonio. They're not winners.
Well, I think what you just mentioned is when you talk about Popovich, he's kind of the Belichick of the NBA. When you look at NFL and NBA, players that go there, they know they have to buy into a system. It's not about me all the time, and that's one of the reasons they've had such success, Big C, and that's always something we talk about too. I want to just bring you down. We talked about the 3-point competition and how Steph Curry is like the best guy in the history of the world, knocking down 3 for the Golden State Warriors. And when you look at this All-Star game, we talked about him not being there. But let's look at some of the 3-point guys. You have Eric Gordon out of Houston. Now, we know he's a great player, but just doesn't have the cachet, especially for the NBA All-Star game. And when I think about that, we talked about Curry, how great he is, and also Jesus Shuttlesworth, Ray Allen. Those guys, Vince Carter, those guys are dominant lifetime players. What is Eric Gordon? Did he strike a name? Is he a ticket that you want to go buy because Eric Gordon's in town, Big C?
He doesn't have that whip appeal, Charlton, when you're sitting there talking about a 3-point game. But when you think about 3-pointers in the NBA right now, Charlton, you look at a Curry.
Yeah.
You look at a Westbrook. You look at a Harden. You look at Klay Thompson. Charlton, there's a plethora of household names right now in the NBA that are tremendous 3-point shooters, and they're not participating in this game. And I don't think that it's that strenuous to be in a 3-point shooting contest. You might shoot off 15 to 20 balls.
Yeah.
So, I think the fans, are the losers when we come to this, Charlton. The All-Star teams are so segregated now in their involvement. A And I think a lot of these, especially the young fans, walk away disappointed because they look to see that name that they've recognized, the jersey that they're wearing, and they get no participation from them, Charlton.
Could you imagine back in the day, Big C, in my era, if you went, let's just transition over to the NFL All-Star Game. Could you imagine when the 49ers were at their height back in the day? If you go to the NFL All-Star Game, there's no Jerry Rice, there's no Joe Montana, there's no John Taylor, there's no Ronnie Lott, there's no Steve Young. You know, back in the day, if you looked at Cowboys, no Emmitt Smith, no Michael Irvin, no Troy Aikman, no Charles Haley. And I think that's what's happening in these skills competitions. So if you can't get the top players who are marked as marquee players, why not even have it? The opportunity to give younger guys their chance. You know, that's what the off season's for. But I do want to compliment in the three-point competition Kyrie Irving for the defending world champion Cleveland Cavaliers. But Irving's not known as a three-point artist. Even on their team, they look at Smith for that. Big C, your thoughts on him being the three-point competition?
Well, not only that, they look at Kyle Korver that they just brought in from Atlanta a couple of weeks ago by a trade.
Yeah.
You know, so you're getting players stepping up, and, you know, it's nice because the league recognizes him, the fans recognize him. But, you know, he's not the number one three-point shooter on his own organization. So, you know, for him to be in the competition, it'd be nice to see him winning.
That's funny.
These are the things that you look at, you know, as far as players' unwillingness to participate in certain things. And I know players say, well, I need the rest. I don't want to risk injury. It's hard to get injured just raising up for a jump shot.
Yeah, that's true, Big Z. I know we have an abbreviated show because you got to go get those beads, vacuum out of your throat, and that moonshine, washing it down with moonshine doesn't really cure it, Big Z. And stay away from those voodoo doctors. They're not FDA approved, but thinking of FDA approved, I want to say this segment is also sponsored by Big C Insurance. We do athletic insurance all over the country for professional, collegiate, and also high school athletes, as well as your mom and pop who have been in Mark. Tweet off at Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. The last few things I'll talk about, Big C, I know you got to run in about 10 minutes. I just want to bring up a couple more players and get your thoughts historically, the way they're going to be remembered. We talked about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Even if you don't know the NBA and you're in China or you're in Korea or you're in Rome, if you see that shot, people know it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Klay Thompson's known as a catch-and-shoot guy. He's going to be in the three-point contest for the Golden State Warriors, but he's not even the best three-point shooter on their team with Golden State, but he is clutch, Big C. Your thoughts on Klay Thompson being in this competition, Big C?
Well, Klay Thompson can fill it up, Jonathan. We already know that he holds the NBA record for the amount of points scored per minute in an NBA game. But, you know, he holds the record for the number of points scored in a quarter. You know, but that's just one of them. I mean, you could put half the Golden State Warriors lineup out there in that three-point contest, and it would be successful. And so, you know, this is the thing that you fight against in the NBA is that you want to see the elitists out there competing, but also, you know, because these players have egos, Charlton, they don't want to lose either. You know, so that's the thing. They don't want to go out there and have an off night. I mean, Larry Bird participated in this contest. Bernard King participated in this contest. Some of the greatest players of all time participated in these contests, and that's fanfare. That's what a fan pays for, Charlton, is to have recognition. And we want that regardless of where we are in life. And so, I hate, you know, it's like when the NBA, when players are sitting down, and you sit down 3-4 players out of your starting lineup, and no one's offering a refund or a discount on the ticket for not getting the maximum entertainment for your dollar, Charlton. It's a two-way street, and I think the NBA needs to find a way to make an adjustment on that. When teams sit players down, the NBA is going to have to go in and have a refund policy for fans that come into these arenas.
Big C, I think that makes a very good point. It's almost like getting on an airplane and they say the pilot's not going to be flying, and neither will the co-pilot, but we have these strike pilots. They're going to come in and fly you across the pond, Big C. Maybe some people would think twice if they had to realize they were being not treated to the best that the money can buy, Big C. And so I just want to run down the start lineup, and I want to touch on a little bit of controversy as we close out the show, as we always do. For the Eastern Conference, LeBron James out of Cleveland, Giannis Antetokounmpo, I hope I said his name right, out of Milwaukee, Jimmy Butler out of Chicago, Kyrie Irving out of Cleveland, DeMar DeRozan out of Toronto. Does that lineup look like an NBA All-Star lineup to you, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, you know, you think about DeRozan, Charlton, that this guy has played in the NBA for 7 years, never made an All-Star game.
Wow.
He made the last 3 consecutive All-Star games. He's averaging about 22.8 points a game. This year, he has really stepped up, and Toronto has become a dominant franchise in the East. When you look at them, they've consistently been challenging for the Eastern title, being in the playoffs. So this is a team that's ready to make a move. And also remember, Charles, that they just made that trade for Serge Ibaka this week.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're really positioning themselves to challenge the Cleveland Cavaliers. And if you slip up 4 games, you can easily be eliminated in the playoff run.
Well, that's a very good point, Big C. To swing across to the Western Conference, and there's always an all-star latent matchup, no matter who you are. But this is where you find who the alpha males are, okay? I would say in the Eastern Conference, LeBron James still the alpha male. In the Western Conference, Kevin Durant, Golden State, Kawhi Leonard, San Antonio, Anthony Davis, New Orleans, Steph Curry, Golden State, and James Harden, Houston. Now, they're all potential future Hall of Famers, Big C. But who's the alpha male in that group in the Western Conference? Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, first of all, I got to figure out how many basketballs they're going to play with. You're talking about some of the greatest shooters in the game right now. You know, all these guys have had great accolades. I mean, James Harden is having a triple-double for most of the season.
Yeah.
Curry, all-time three-point shooter. You know, you look at Kawhi Leonard, who's been a final MVP, Charlton. You look at Anthony Davis, who's been Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
These players, Charlton, can play basketball. You know, the continuity that you look for in just a couple days of getting together. But we know that the All-Star game is an exhibition. It's not about displaying your greatest of talent and skill. It's about getting the ball up and down into the basket. Yep. And so, you know, when you look at it man for man, the Western Conference has just too much talent. You would think about it. But, you know, in these games, there's always some unsung player, Charlton, that gets a hot hand who knocks down 35, 40 points.
Well, Big C, I like so much about you. You have such a knowledge. I think one of the only guys that really reminds me of you is Harry Edwards, who's a professor at Stanford and just a brilliant, brilliant man, and not someone who's a sycophant to media. I want to ask you this question. I think Adam Silver is on the precipice of being, and I know a lot of people like Stern, but I think Adam Silver can probably go down as the greatest of all NBA commissioners as he tackles some of the issues that even the Trump administration has talked about with the division in our country. And you always said it, you've been saying it for years, that sports will bring people together. And this is Black History Month. We're down in the South, in New Orleans, where we had hurricane. The hurricane come through there, a lot of tragedy, a lot of political things going on in our country. What could Adam Silver do to be like the anti-Donald Trump when it comes to bringing people together? And Trump doesn't want to do the NCAA basketball brackets, and President Obama, President's been doing it for years, and he doesn't want to do it. What can Adam Silver do to kind of pull people together, not only just acknowledging Black history, Big C, but talking about the diversity that the NBA is with this ban that the federal government had to overturn on POTUS, Big C? Your thoughts in the next 3 minutes.
Well, we're talking, I look at so much that Adam Silver's done in his brief tenure as a commissioner. You know, we start off with Larry O'Brien prior to David Stern.
Yeah.
And these were two trailblazers from the commissioner seat in the NBA. But I look at Adam Silver when he came into the league, Charlton, he inherited a firestorm.
Yeah.
But he didn't sit back and be passive. You know, even when you think about what he did last week with the Knicks owners, Dolan.
Oh, yeah.
This is a commissioner that you have to step in and be the governing body of the league that you've been elected to run. And he's doing that.
Yeah.
He's not taking things personally. He's doing things from a business perspective. What's right? You know, and when you find a commissioner that operates like that, Charlton, instead of a personal agenda, and we've seen that so much, and we've seen it in the NFL.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't seen it in the NBA, and not so much in Major League Baseball or hockey. You want Bedman's a little bit like that.
Yeah.
You know, in hockey. But, you know, Adam Silver, Charlton, he has recognized all ethnicities. He has been fair and diligent and swift, you know, as far as how he's handled things. And that's what you have to have as a commissioner, Charlton. You can't placate things forever.
Yeah.
You know, trying to figure it out. You know, sometimes you got to believe your eyes.
Yeah.
You know, it's that obvious, and that's how he is.
Yeah.
And you think about these events that he keeps putting on and the NBA keeps putting on, Charlton.
Yeah.
They're always trying to take it to the next level of fan enjoyment.
Yeah.
And that's the commissioner's role, Charlton. What can we do to heighten the experience of a fan coming into our All-Star Spectacular weekend?
Well, Big C, the last thing I'll say as we get ready to close out on Big C Sports, you know, Big C Sports, the #1 sports show in the universe, and the iHeartRadio is the #1 media company in the United States. So when I look at Big C Sports, I look at Big C, I look at Harry Edwards, I look at the black athlete, I look at the white athlete, I look at what Donald Trump has done to women. I look at media in the USA. Donald Trump could never stand up for anti-discrimination against women. He can't stand up for anti-sexism against women. He can't stand up and say we have to stop this male chauvinist behavior against women. As POTUS, he cannot talk about men who harass women. Now, I know this is a male game for basketball, but we have the WNBA that's also playing basketball too. But as we close out with your thoughts on this, Big C, we have so much going on in the United States, but Dr. King taught us that silence is what allows bad people to continue to grow. Is there any message that Adam Silver, we already know that Greg Popovich has done it, Steve Kerr has done it, we know that Mark Cuban has done it too. What can he say, because sports is stronger than politics, what can he say to POTUS as a message to say this is America, this is the future of America, and if the White House doesn't have the guts to bring people together, then call on the NBA brethren not to be like a Tom Brady and go, let's go, but how can he get people in the NBA to reach out more into the communities, like guys like Kevin Durant, like guys like a LeBron James or Steph Curry? They're not just talented basketball players. How can Adam Silver send that message of inclusion, Big C? And I'll let you close it out with that.
Well, Adam Silver Charlton has already been the trailblazer in that when you look at the LBG community.
Yeah.
And him moving an all-star game, Charlton, that's cost a bathroom.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And states not wanting to stand behind what was voted by the legislators. This is a very powerful message.
Yeah.
It lets communities know that money matters.
Yeah.
What we bring to your community matters. And this is what Adam Silver has done beyond any other commissioner, beyond any politician, Charlton.
Yeah.
He is one of those people that, it would be nice if the president sit down and talk with him. Maybe he would learn something. But, the president said he was a very smart man, and he knows everything, so there's no need for him to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
But, when you look at what the NBA has done, Charlton, as far as being in the forefront of all the leagues, of equality for its players and its fans and citizens, Charlton, this is what everybody needs to learn from. And I praise Adam Silver for moving these games for political reasons.
Yeah.
Charlton. Not personal, political. And
Yeah.
that's what America has to look at. If it's wrong, regardless of being a law, it's wrong. A lot of these people are bigots who create these laws and separatists.
Yeah.
And so you can't let them win. You hurt them financially by moving something that their state or city would be proud of, and they go void of having these incidents occur in their cities, Charlton.
Well, Big C, I think that's so well said. When Donald Trump spoke yesterday, had a meeting and a conference that lasted about 77 minutes. He kind of embarrassed the United States of America. There are a lot of people who don't have a lot of respect for the office anymore, and just all the things that are going on. So I think you're right, Big C. I love what Adam Silver is doing because he's not a sycophant. He's in a very powerful position, and he doesn't have to be black to stand up for Black Lives Matter or Hispanic Lives Matter or Native American Lives Matter or Women's Matters. So I really appreciate the respect that Adam Silver and the class that he brings to the commissioner as the NBA commissioner. I want to say every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network, the #1 network in the United States. And Big C Sports is the #1 sports show in the universe. And I always tell you, there's never any room for domestic violence. If you see any woman going through some garbage or some man grabbing her by the crotch, just call 911 because that's not cool. And we always tell you, every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. And as we always tell you, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.